everybody. I'm Rainbow and welcome to Dimensional Walking. Today's video isn't going to be very long. It's kind of a reminder video that I wanted to share with you all regarding the fall coming. And the one thing that a lot of people like to do during the fall, or especially during October and for Halloween, is a lot of people like to go to cemeteries, and that includes Michael and I. We like going to cemeteries, and it doesn't have to be around this time of year. We go whenever we get a chance. I, as an empath, like to go to cemeteries because I pick up a lot of information from cemeteries. But in saying that, there are certain things that I just kind of want to remind everybody about when you do go to cemeteries, because to me, they're very peaceful and they're wonderful. They do have a different energy at night, and that is usually when people want to go to cemeteries at night to get scared. And so I don't go for that reason ever to the cemeteries, because I've already had enough paranormal experiences in my life that I don't want to have to go get more and scare myself. And besides that, Michael and I have a different perspective when it comes to going to different locations, even if they're haunted, and getting information, because it's more about research, getting information, and trying to find answers to the age-old questions that we all have regarding death and what happens after death. So when you go to a cemetery, just remember that it is somebody's final resting place. I have this weird idiosyncrasy where I hate stepping on top of graves, but every once in a while I will, and I end up saying, "Excuse me, I'm sorry." So just remember that it is someone, even though it's bones and their soul is passed on, sometimes they haven't passed on. So just be aware of the fact of that respect, even if it's something that you don't have to say. Just be respectful when you go to the cemeteries. And I'm not saying you guys are all children, because I know that you probably all know this. This is just kind of a reminder video. Also, something else I wanted to remind you all about is that there are things that live around the cemeteries. The supernatural is always around us. The paranormal is always eyes open and waiting and aware of what we are doing. One thing that Halloween does bring in is a lot more activity to these beings, and so they see a lot more people around cemeteries, especially late at night, especially those teenagers and people who like to go and try to get scared or do something really brazen by walking around cemeteries and trying to, and also research. Research is also a major part of why people go. Just Michael and I are not the exception. Many people like to go and try to find out answers. But for those who don't, just remember that these entities that hang around the cemeteries are always waiting for that chance of an invitation. And I've talked about this in other videos. So just remember that whenever you go to cemeteries, that there are shadow people who live around the cemeteries, and there are entities that hang, and they linger there because they're always waiting for that unsuspecting human to walk around, and I call them jumpers. So they're spiritual jumpers. They just kind of jump on and latch on to people, and they go home with them. Now, some of you might think I'm a little nuts, and that's okay. You have that right. But I know this has happened, and I know people who it has happened to, and I know that there are, for myself, I know this is something that is true. So just be aware when you go to cemeteries to be awake and aware of your surroundings. And if you get that heebie-jeebie kind of feeling, that the hair standing up on the back of your neck or your arm, just remember that that's your psyche telling you. It's a kind of a warning bell to kind of be aware of your surroundings and maybe get out of that certain area. I think that a lot of people who go to cemeteries to kind of get scared and stuff don't understand that it's just as inviting as going and playing the Ouija board. The cemetery has to do with death. And so for me, as an empath, I find that if somebody's been just freshly buried, or somebody's like, I mean, and Michael has witnessed this, I can smell decaying flesh, and it's a smell you never forget. It's something that stays with you for your whole life. I don't like that smell. And sometimes if we're at cemeteries where somebody's just been buried, I can't stay, because even if I'm at the other end of the cemetery, I will still be able to smell the body. So I just, for me, it's just one, even if it has stuff in it, it doesn't matter. I can still smell it. And where I come from in New Mexico, some of the old cemeteries that Michael and I went to, sometimes they bury them. They just it depends. My ex-husband, he passed away from a heart attack, and then he was buried within days. And they didn't embalm him. They didn't do anything. They buried him in his clothes and all the important personal things that mattered to him. And he was laid to rest, and without having any, going to the hospital or going to an embalmer or anybody to have anything done to the body. So some of the places that we have gone to, they just bury people. So what I'm saying is that even though a lot of people do cremation and all that stuff, just understand that everybody kind of has a different idea about what death is. And as an empath, some of you who probably have experienced this can smell decaying flesh. It's something that's another sense, something that we can smell. Also, I get information from spirits, and especially when I went to the South, I do have a video early on where I talked about where I went to a cemetery with my sister, my older sister, and she and I both got information, a lot of drama and a lot of intense sorrow happening still in the South. So depending on where you're located and where you go, you can still feel that emotional trauma that happened, if it was a death that was violent, or if it was a death that happened suddenly, or if it was a death that was done by the hands of somebody else. I mean, all that memory and all that emotion in the moment of death is still there. So as an empath, just as an empath myself, reminding other empaths, just remember that you're going to feel all that when you go into cemeteries. Also, if you're not aware that you're an empath, because I think there's many, many, many empaths, just be aware of that. You're going to be feeling sometimes sorrow, sometimes feeling sad, melancholy. Other times you're going to experience someone's anger and their shock and horror of the fact that they're dead. Others will be asking you questions. So if you're an empath that's open and aware of their surroundings and doesn't mind being told things from the spirit world, just make sure that when you do go, that you have a little protection around yourself, because spirits will tend to hang and linger with someone that they feel understands them or can help them, because I don't want any spirit coming home with me. I have enough activity here at the house occasionally that happens from the work that Michael and I do, and this is my sanctuary, so I want to make sure that it's safe for Michael and our animals and myself. So I try to not allow something to follow me home. Don't let anything follow you home. The best thing to do is a meditation before you go into a cemetery, and then a closing meditation when you leave, saying no one can follow you home, that you put your foot down and said no invitation here. So just a few reminders if you go to cemeteries during the month of October, because a lot of people like to. And Michael and I will go all year round if we find an old cemetery, and we like walking around. The peacefulness of them is wonderful during the day, different energy during the night, a little scarier, but that's because of the entities who kind of linger during past twilight hour. So I hope you all are doing well, enjoying fall. I am. It's my favorite time of year. Don't forget, if you have any questions or comments, to let Michael and I know. And you can write us at dimensionalwalking truthseeker@gmail.com. Don't forget about Truth Seeker Forum, because that's we have articles on that website all the time regarding the paranormal. And then don't forget to check out Paranormal Underground, a magazine, because I write for that magazine. Every once in a while they publish my articles. And Cheryl and Chad Knight, I think it's Cheryl, yeah, yes, yes. Cheryl and Chad are amazing people, and I know they would greatly appreciate you subscribing to their magazine. I love it, and gosh, it's been about 5 years for me since I started writing for them. So I really enjoy the magazine, and a new one just came out just recently. So check the website out and subscribe. So you all take care. Thank you for listening in to this video, and I hope you have a wonderful fall. And I don't know when I'll be getting back with another video, but until then, have a wonderful week. Thank you for watching. If you like us, subscribe and let your friends know all about us. Take care, and on to the next video. I'll see you. Bye-bye.